Alright, welcome back to Star Ocean Anamnesis. So today I've got a guide for you on Waltz Tika. So let's get started. Waltz Tika is a carry with a very powerful rush. Her first talent, Sparkly Sleek Dress, increases the attack damage of the entire party by 50% whenever the hit count is above 150 hits, and it also allows her to dash out of the combo and maintain her cancel bonus once per attack. 50% attack damage for the entire party is a very good buff, especially when you consider that 150 hit counts is quite a low requirement compared to other characters, so that's nice. And the second part is actually a very integral part to Tika's playstyle, because it means that she can maintain very long combos. And her second talent, Blue Dance Shoes, reduces the AP cost on dodging by 80%, recovers 100% AP to Tika whenever she perfect dodges, and it also recovers 50 AP to all allies after a perfect dodge. This talent paired with her first talent makes for a very deadly combination. As long as you can manage to perfect dodge attacks, you should be able to continue comboing infinitely, which is a lot easier said than done, but if you somehow do manage to do it, your damage output will go through the roof. Her third talent, Passionate Lead, reduces her AP cost by 50% whenever she's above skill chain 3, and increases her crit rate by 100% whenever she's above skill chain 5. And this talent complements her playstyle very well. The extra AP cost reduction allows her to combo for even longer, and the extra crit rate increases your damage by a little bit, but seeing as how her attacks are very fast, that extra damage adds up very quickly. And her last talent, Superstar Debut, increases her attack by 30% and increases it by 35% during rush combos when the hit count is above 300 hits. Tika's attack stat is sitting at a very nice 3500, which allows her to do a lot of damage, and I'm fairly certain that the 35% attack buff doesn't stack with the normal 30%, so it's just an extra 5%, which is not exactly negligible, but the 300 hit count is pretty steep in certain party compositions, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And now we move on to her battle skills. So the first one is Noble Starlayer. It has a 680% attack multiplier, a 3 hit count, and it's a long-range attack with a 31 AP cost. This is a good attack if you're trying to run a long-range version of Tika, or you're running her with the Vanguard Mastery talent, but outside of that, the other attacks that she has are just a bit better than it. And up next we have Grey Smasher. It has a 350% attack multiplier, a 2 hit count, and it's a close-range attack with a 15 AP cost. Now this is a very good attack. It has a really quick animation and a very low AP cost, and because of how quick it is, you can very easily use this as a DPS skill. But most importantly, Tika doesn't fly around the battlefield when she's using this, so it's pretty safe to use on slow enemies. And up next we have Elegant Blow. It has a 400% attack multiplier, it does 1 hit, and it's a close-range skill with a 16 AP cost. And this attack is very similar to Grey Smasher. It has a similar AP cost, but it does a bit more damage, but Tika also jumps to the side when she uses this. So just like Grey Smasher, you could use this as a DPS skill, but whichever one you want to use comes down to personal preference. And then we have Splendid Rambling. It has an 830% attack multiplier, it has a 3 hit count, an ice element, and it's also a close range attack with a 29 AP cost. This attack can also be used from long range, which makes it a perfect option for the Vanguard Mastery, or again the long range Tika if you want. But it's very slow compared to Elegant Blow and Grey Smasher, so it's not ideal for dealing damage, at least not up close. But if you're running the long-range setup, then this attack is pretty much mandatory. And then lastly, we have her Rush, Glorious Trinity Waltz. It has a massive 6,500% attack multiplier, and as a post-rush buff, it increases her own attack by 85% and gives herself AP recovery on normals by 100% for 20 seconds. Right now, Tika's the only character in the game who has a rush that exceeds a 5,500% multiplier, and she also has a 3,500 attack stat, so those two combined means that she more than likely always has the strongest rush. A character like Halloween Priestess might be able to outdamage her if she has the right buffs, but that seems very unlikely in a random multiplayer lobby. So as a rule of thumb, be sure to always put this rush last. And the post-rush buff is also pretty crazy. A 20-second long 85% attack buff is ridiculous. It ups her damage output by quite a bit. And the normal attack AP recovery is also nice if she ever happens to run out of AP. It's also a really good assist buff for basically any carry. And now moving on to equipment. Luckily with Knuckles you have a lot of stuff to choose from in the shop, like an Elemental Knuckle. However, the one that I picked is the Bloody Duster, which increases attack by 15%, Acrobat Locust damage by 20%, which does not apply here, and at Limit Break 3 you also unlock a 10% lifesteal. A 15% attack buff is a pretty big buff for Tika, considering that her normal attack stat is already very high to begin with, and a 10% lifesteal, while you probably won't be using normal attacks very often, If you ever need to recover HP, the option is there, so this is probably the best set of free knuckles that you can find for her. Then for her first gacha weapon, I recommend Nine's Gauntlet, which has wind imbuement, wind damage plus 40%, increases attack damage against enemies by 15% whenever your HP is at 100%, and at max limit break you unlock a 15% extra critical hit rate. The attack damage taken buff stacks with Tika's normal attack damage buff, so that's very nice. Unfortunately, Tika herself doesn't have a way to recover HP, so you're gonna have to rely on your accessories in this case, but aside from that, this is a very good weapon for her. And as another gacha option, we also have the new Sapphire Ring, which has ice imbuement, ice damage plus 50%, increases damage against divines by 30%, and whenever the hit count is above 150 hits, it increases rush combo damage by 40%, and it also gives you a 15% lifesteal at limit break 5. And this weapon is perfect for Tika because, you know, it was introduced alongside her. It has a very high attack stat. The extra rush combo damage works out very well for her because rushing is her main gimmick, and the lifesteal can, of course, allow her to stay alive a bit longer. But as always, it's a lot more important to use the elements that bosses are weak to. And for accessories, I recommend the Sea Turtle Necklace, which was available during the summer event, which gives you 5% HP recovery whenever you charge assault from long to close range, and it also increases your evasion speed and distance by 50%. Dodging is an integral part of Tika's playstyle, so having the extra evasion speed and distance makes keeping up those large combo strings a lot easier and more reliable, and the extra HP recovery can also help you out if you don't have lifesteal on your weapon or you're running the Vanguard Tika. And for assists, you can use pretty much anything that will increase your own damage output, like elemental damage buffs, single target damage buffs, and regular damage buffs. Albo has a 100% attack buff, which is also very nice, but of course try to avoid characters that have AP cost reduction because you already have that in your own kit. And for her battle skill setup, like I said before, there are two different ways to play her, a long range and a close range playstyle. Personally, I prefer the close range one, so for that we would run Elegant Blow because it's a very good filler, and you could also use it as your main DPS skill. Same thing applies to Grey Smasher, and then lastly we have Splendid Rumbling. You could use it as your main DPS skill, or you could use it to fight from long range just in case. And with a setup like this, a combo that you can do is a normal attack into Grey Smasher, into Elegant Blow, into as many Splendid Rumblings as you can fit. Of course, you could also use Grey Smasher or Elegant Blow as your finishing attack, but it mostly comes down to your personal preference. Now, when it comes to a party composition, there's really only one party that you should, nay, can run with Tika, and that's of course Inscribed Star Tika. She buffs attack and int damage for the entire party based on hit count. She can buff rush damage based on hit count, and she also recovers AP to the entire party whenever she uses Gunner's Rain or Platoon Blast. Secondly, you should run a Summer Tika. She has a party-wide attack buff which is based on hit count. She has AP cost reduction and AP recovery whenever you're at long range, and her hit counts aren't that bad either. And lastly, of course, we have a New Year's Tika. She can bump damage for the entire party based on hit count. She provides extra hits on normals and skills, and post-rush, she can also increase single target damage for the entire party. As long as you have this party, nobody will be able to withstand your wrath, not even Gabe. But, you know, in all seriousness, as long as you have an attack buffer in your party and some sort of into attack converter, Waltz Tika should be able to do her job pretty well. And now to summarize, Waltz Tika has the ability to dash out of her combos, which means that she can reach some very high combo numbers. Because of her AP recovery talent on perfect dodges, she should have little to no downtime, meaning she can really put on the hurt. And of course, she also has the strongest rush in the game with a huge 6500% multiplier. She has a very nice attack stat as well, and that post-rush buff is also nothing to scoff at, so that makes her a very excellent carry. But unfortunately, Tika's battle skills aren't as good as they could have been. Elegant Blow and Splendid Rumbling are both very unsafe because she moves around while using them, and on top of that, because her playstyle is so combo heavy, it's going to take a good amount of practice before you can actually play her effectively. Regardless, she's still one of the best carries in the game, but keep one thing in mind, a dead DPS is no DPS, so don't get greedy. And that does it for my Waltz Tika guide. Took me a while to get this one out because I'm lazy as shit, but hopefully I can get the Ballroom Verta guide out a little quicker. So hopefully that was helpful, and I guess I'll see you all later. Peace!